Something strange is happening in America. The poorer you are, the more you seem to pay. I'm not talking about income. I'm talking about eggs, milk, toilet paper, bread, the little things that make up a meal. Things that once felt ordinary, now test the dignity of millions. We used to believe Walmart and Costco were symbols of middle America, places where you could save money and still have enough. But today, those very places have become a nightmare for the low income. Coffee rose from $1.99 to $17.49. A carton of eggs went up 80%. Gas in Mississippi is more expensive than in New York. And when I read those numbers, I asked myself, is this Walmart's fault? Or the fault of a system that abandoned the weakest? Today, we'll travel through the 10 poorest states in America, where each price hike cuts deeper into lives already on the edge. 1. West Virginia, where bread means choosing between medicine and a meal. West Virginia, a land once proud of its labor, its calloused coal mining hands, now quietly battles a crisis no one says out loud. A cost of living crisis that's silent, yet brutal. I arrived in a small town in Beckley one spring morning. The mountain air still smelled faintly of coal. Here, Walmart isn't just a store, it's the backbone of the local economy. It's the first stop after payday. It's the place where you find everything, from eggs and milk to a fleeting sense of sufficiency. But things are changing, and this change doesn't need a hurricane or earthquake. It comes every week, on a little price tag above the shelf. A loaf of bread now costs nearly twice what it did 2 years ago. Eggs, the most affordable breakfast item, have jumped nearly 80%. Coffee, the only small luxury in a retiree's day, is now the item to skip if you want to afford your medication. I met a 74-year-old man living alone after his wife died of cancer. He said, "I'm not complaining. I just don't know how to afford both my back pain meds and food for the week. If I pick bread, I hurt. If I pick meds, I go hungry." In West Virginia, the average retirement income is about $900 or $1,000 a month. Meanwhile, food and medicine alone eat up over 70% of that. And then there's utilities, heating in winter, car expenses, no Costco, no way out. In other states, when Walmart prices rise, people can choose Costco. Buy in bulk, share, save more. But West Virginia has one of the lowest access rates to Costco in the nation. Some counties don't have a store within 100 miles. Not everyone owns a car. Not everyone can drive for hours just to get something cheaper. And here's the bitter truth. The poor can't drive far to save money. Being poorest doesn't mean having no money. It means having no options. When the only grocery store near you is the store. When prices rise with no competition. When Walmart is no longer affordable for everyone. The elderly, the sick, the unemployed, they're stuck. A local economy is being strangled. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, BLS, food prices in West Virginia have risen over 16% in 2 years, the highest in the Southeast. Yet incomes remain flat. The poverty rate here is among the highest in the country. The percentage of residents over 65 is also one of the highest. And the result? A hopeless race between prices and fixed incomes. I used to think choosing a simple life was a noble idea. But here, people aren't choosing. They've been forced into it. Like a price trap, I want to ask you, the person watching this video, have you ever had to choose between medicine and food? Have you ever walked into a grocery store and quietly walked out, empty-handed? If yes, you're not alone. Share your story. Because when we all speak up, the invisible numbers become a reality that must be faced. 2. Mississippi, shopping to keep a routine, not to buy things. I used to think grocery shopping was a consumer activity, but in Mississippi, shopping now feels more like a psychological habit. At a Walmart in Jackson, I met a man in his 70s. He wore a faded shirt, plastic sandals, and pushed an empty cart down every aisle. I asked if he was looking for anything. He smiled slowly and said, "No, I'm just keeping a routine. If I looked at my receipt too closely, I probably couldn't sleep tonight. Gas more expensive than New York." Sounds impossible, Jackson. Mississippi, the capital of one of the poorest states, is witnessing something unprecedented. Gas at Costco here is more expensive than in New York City. You heard that right. In a place where household income averages just $52,000 a year, people are paying more for gas than those living in Manhattan. And gas is just the beginning. Milk, toilet paper, detergent at Walmart, up 20–25% in just 2 years. The bare basics of keeping a household, now painful calculations, no way out, no other options. Mississippi has no Trader Joe's, no strong local chains to create price competition. Some counties don't have a Costco within 60 miles, which means when Walmart raises prices, there's nowhere else to turn. And that's the major difference between the rich and the poor. The rich can compare prices, hunt deals, shop online. The poor can only watch, when shopping becomes a kind of nostalgia. A woman in Gulfport told me, "I used to shop because it made me happy. Now I shop because I'm scared my kids will go hungry. And when I check out, I feel like I've done something wrong." It's no longer shopping. It's bargaining with your dignity. People aren't buying what they need. They're buying what makes them feel least guilty to leave behind. Data. The silent poverty behind receipts. Mississippi has the highest poverty rate in America, one of the lowest access rates to large supermarkets. Rising gas prices and weak infrastructure have inflated transport costs, and people are bearing that full burden. In other states, people try to budget smartly. Here, people are just trying to hold on to some sense of normal. When looking at a receipt hurts, I once lived in a big city where folks complained about high gas prices over an extra 10 cents a gallon. But in Mississippi, every penny is a cut. Cutting breakfast, cutting mom's medication, cutting even the ability to hope. And I wonder, how many people are pushing carts just to remind themselves they're still surviving? Have you ever walked into a store and avoided looking too hard at your receipt? Have you ever turned around and left because the one item you needed just went up in price? If so, please don't stay silent. Share your story, because Mississippi might be the name today, but tomorrow it might be where you live. 3. New Mexico, the invisible geographic trap. I used to think distance was just something on a map, but in New Mexico, distance is the quiet trap swallowing up meals, savings, and the dignity of thousands of families. I'm not talking about the distance between towns. I'm talking about the space between surviving and simply existing, when Walmart is everything, and also the only thing. In northern New Mexico, scattered Navajo communities live across dry, rugged hills. There, Walmart isn't just a supermarket, it's the only supply source within hundreds of miles. No local grocery stores, no farmers markets, no Costco. "We don't go to Walmart to shop," said a native woman in Gallup. "We go there to survive." High transportation costs, but who pays the price? According to the Brookings Institution, it costs up to 40% more to get food to rural parts of New Mexico than to flatter states. Why? Rough roads, long distances, sparse populations. But here's the injustice. Walmart doesn't pay that cost. The people do. An apple in Albuquerque costs $0.89. That same apple in Farmington, $1.59. Think about that. One apple equals a child's dinner. One bottle of cooking oil equals a week of gas money, when grocery shopping feels like a challenge course. I once saw a young mother holding her baby, standing silently at the chicken section. She picked it up, put it down, picked it up, put it down again. Eventually, walked away with only the cheapest pack of noodles in hand. She didn't cry, but her slouched back carried a lifetime of mental math. I don't need a fancy store. I just need a place where the prices don't make me feel small, she said through tears. Numbers that hurt. Nearly 30% of New Mexico's population lives below food security levels. Many indigenous areas are over 100 kilometers away from the nearest big grocery store. Fresh food in rural New Mexico costs 20–25% more than in the cities. Walmart has become the unofficial food bank in these areas, but unlike a real food bank, it doesn't give, it sells, at prices that make people bargain with their pride. Poverty isn't just a lack of money, it's a lack of pathways, I used to think. If you've got a car and gas money, you can just drive to cheaper stores. But I was wrong. The poor here don't have cars, don't have roads, don't have internet, don't have choices. They live in a desert, literally, but also in a policy desert, a desert of neglect. And that neglect is what makes a loaf of bread feel out of reach. Have you ever had to drive for hours just to buy diapers or a bottle of milk, only to find it costs twice as much? Have you ever seen a loved one choose between fresh food and gas? If you have, You're not alone. Leave your story, because one voice can start a ripple of change. 4. Arkansas, Walmart's hometown, but no special deals for the poor. Bentonville, Arkansas. That tiny town became world famous because of one man named Sam Walton and one revolutionary idea: sell for less to more people. From one store in 1962, Walmart became the biggest retail empire on the planet. And today, if you walk into a Walmart in Arkansas, you'll still see that logo shining. But the founding idea seems to be fading. Even the founder couldn't imagine this. I met Evelyn, a former Walmart employee in Fayetteville. She worked there for 22 years, back when Sam Walton was still alive. She told me, back then, Walmart was a point of pride. Everyone thought of it first when they needed something good and cheap. But now, when I shop here, I have to leave half my cart behind. I just can't afford it. That sentence hit like a cold Ozark wind in January. Someone who helped build Walmart now can't afford to shop there. Prices rising faster than you'd expect. According to the Arkansas Economic Development Institute, from 2022 to 2024, food prices in rural Arkansas rose over 18%, outpacing the national average. A gallon of milk jumped from $2.29 to nearly $4. Rice, cooking oil, baby diapers, each item rising a few cents at a time until it adds up to tens of dollars. The average household income in Arkansas is around $52,000 a year, but essential costs are climbing by the day. And the sad part? Despite being headquartered here, Walmart offers no local discounts. No hometown price, no employee family perks, no local discount cards. Geography becomes another lock. Arkansas is a landlocked state. 55% of its goods are trucked in from faraway ports like Houston, New Orleans, or Savannah. For every gallon of gas that rises, so does the cost of milk, bread, diapers. One-day shipping delay adds 30 cents to every product. Walmart, even with its headquarters here, still runs like a global machine, and Arkansas residents are still just regular customers. The birthplace of a dream, now watching it fade. There's one paradox I can't stop thinking about. Arkansas gave birth to Walmart, but Arkansans can no longer live on Walmart prices. I used to think being close to the boss meant getting priority, but in the free market, even family pays like strangers. The question isn't, is Walmart evil? It's, why did the man who created cheap prices leave the poor unable to afford cheap? Have you ever lived in the hometown of a global brand? Did you ever think working near HQ meant better deals? If you once believed like I did and woke up like I did, leave your story below, because when contradictions like this get told, society is forced to ask bigger questions. 5. Kentucky, where instant noodles return at age 72. In eastern Kentucky, where the Appalachian Mountains wear morning fog like a shawl, people once lived on 3 things: coal, faith, and a humble dinner, a loaf of white bread, a few slices of ham, a brown egg that used to be a common meal, not fancy, but enough to feel like home, to feel like life. Today, even those simple things are slowly becoming luxuries. Instant noodles, a symbol of youth, now revived by despair. I met Ruth, 72 years old, at a quiet bus stop in Hazard. In her hand, a flimsy plastic bag carrying just 3 packs of Walmart's cheapest instant noodles. I used to eat noodles to save money for school. Now I eat noodles to save money to get through the week, she said, and smiled faintly like it was all just fate. That sentence hit me straight in the heart. We're used to hearing about young people living off instant noodles, but when instant noodles show up on an elderly person's dinner table, it's no longer thriftiness. It's a red alert from an economy that's failed to protect those who once built it. Snap cuts, a hole willpower can't fill. At the end of 2023, the Federal Food Assistance Program, SNAP, was slashed. Immediately, thousands of families in Kentucky were left hungry. Feeding Kentucky, a local food aid organization, reported, 1 in 7 people here don't have enough to eat. Meanwhile, the price of basic items at Walmart skyrocketed in just 18 months. Chicken, up 19%, milk, up 22%, rice and cooking oil, up 20 to 25%. They call it inflation. But the people here call it, every trip to the store is a cut into myself. Sales tax, the final blow to the poor. There's something deeply unfair in Kentucky. Food is taxed like it's a luxury item. In many other states, rice, eggs, and vegetables are tax-free, but here the poor still have to pay an extra 6% on every grocery haul. That means if you buy $100 worth of food, you're paying an extra $6 in tax. For someone making $800 a month, that $6 is an entire dinner. When old age is no longer peaceful, I used to think old age was when we got to rest after a lifetime of hard work, when a meal could be seasoned with memory, not a price tag. But in Kentucky, old age doesn't get to rest. Old age has to calculate, to choose, to do painful math between eggs and blood pressure pills, an elderly man told me. I can skip meals, but my blood pressure can't. That's not a complaint. That's a quiet surrender to a system that's never been fair enough. Have you ever eaten instant noodles all week just to save for your electric bill? Have you ever chosen food over medication? If you have, you're not alone. Share your story. Because Kentucky isn't just a dot on the map. It's a warning for millions living in silence. 6. Montana, when saving becomes a waste. Montana, land of pine forests, open plains, and wide skies, where birds sing louder than traffic, where people choose a slow life, peaceful and close to nature. But in towns like Glendive, Dillon, or Shelby, where the nearest supermarket is 70-80 miles away, people are facing a sad paradox. Spending more to buy cheaper. A trip to Costco, 160 kilometers, 6 gallons of gas, and one economic scam. Costco is known for offering lower prices if you buy a lot, but in Montana, getting to Costco means driving nearly 80 miles one way. That's a 160-kilometer round trip. For the average car, that's 6 gallons of gas, about $22 to $25 just in fuel. So the question is, if you save $0.80 per gallon of milk and buy 5 gallons, you save only $4. But you burn $25 to save $4, not counting your time, not counting exhaustion, and not even asking. Did you really need to buy that much? Buying more, not because you need to, but because you have to make it worth it. I met Gerald, a retired Marine living in Le Havre. He told me, I don't go to Costco because it's cheap. I go there to feel like I still have a choice. Then he looked down at his cart, full of cereal, detergent, frozen pies, things he may never finish. Every time I get home, I ask myself, did I just save money, or did I just get tricked in a new way? Facts: a vast state with endless dead ends. Montana has the third lowest population density in the U.S. Many counties don't have a single large supermarket within an 80-kilometer radius. According to the Montana Food Bank Network, food assistance needs have jumped over 23% in the past 2 years, especially in counties without a store within 50 miles. And the result? People buy more than they need. Not because they want to, but because if they don't drive far, they'll pay much more at the local Walmart. A young mother told me, I buy extra, then come home stressed because I maxed out my credit card. But if I don't buy extra, the whole trip costs more than it's worth. The irony of spending to save. I once believed saving was a skill, but Montana taught me that saving also depends on geography. The rich in the city just open an app, get cheap prices, and have it delivered. The poor in the mountains drive 160 kilometers, buy excess, just to feel in control. But the truth is, they're being controlled by prices and distance. Saving money in Montana is an illusion. You think you're being smart, but actually, you're spending the most. Have you ever driven all day just to get cheaper toilet paper? Have you ever returned home from a bargain trip and asked yourself, was it worth it? Have you ever brought home things you didn't need just to make the trip not pointless? If yes, you are not alone. Share your story. Because Montana isn't the only remote place. It might just be part of a bigger American story today. 7. Louisiana, where prices rise after storms, like a quiet aftershock. In Louisiana, people are used to hurricanes. They board up windows, pile sandbags around their homes, stock up on water, candles, and batteries. But there's one thing they can't prepare for: prices rising after the storm has passed. When Walmart once saved lives. I still remember the images during Hurricane Ida in 2021. Hundreds of people crowded inside Walmarts in Baton Rouge and New Orleans for shelter. Some stores even gave out food, clean water, backup batteries for free. Back then, Walmart was a symbol of hope. But 3 years later, in those same stores, a gallon of milk has nearly doubled in price. The cost of recovery. Who's paying for it? According to the USDA and Feeding America, Louisiana is now in the top 5 states with the highest food insecurity. Over 17% of the population regularly lacks enough to eat each month. Essential items like flour, bottled water, batteries, milk, eggs have increased by 20% to over 30% in just 2 years. Why? Because local grocers, small stores, and corner shops disappeared after the storm. Only Walmart remained. And when there's only one seller, prices aren't about competition anymore. They're about fate. When prices make people count toilet paper rolls. A single mother in Lafourche Parish shared, "I used to think Walmart helped me survive the end of each month. Now I count every toilet paper roll. I slice every piece of bread. That image hurts more than ripped off roofs. Because the storm hits once, but high prices hit every day. When there's nowhere left to turn, Walmart controls over 60% of retail market share in many regions of Louisiana. Costco. Many parishes don't have a single store within 50 miles. Trader Joe's, farmers markets, almost non-existent. Which means, if Walmart raises prices, entire regions feel it instantly. No room to maneuver, no space to bargain, no options to hope. Prices carry memory too. I used to believe that after storms, skies clear, people come together, and life gets better. But Louisiana taught me, not all consequences are immediate. Some aftershocks come later, slowly and cruelly, through each receipt. When the place that once saved you now makes you skip meals, you start to wonder, prices can save lives, but they can also quietly take them, one bite at a time. Have you lived through a natural disaster and found your grocery store gone, your choices vanished? Have you seen items once given freely during crisis, now priced double? Share your story, because sometimes the real damage isn't in the broken walls or missing roofs, but in the silence of people forced to pay a little more every day. 8. Alabama, where taxes also target the poor. In Alabama, there's something not everyone knows. Buying a loaf of bread, a jug of milk, or a bunch of greens, you pay taxes like you're buying a TV or a luxury watch. This is one of the last 3 states in the U.S. that still taxes groceries in full, even if it's a child's dinner or a lonely grandmother's breakfast. Price hikes are one punch. But taxes, that's the follow-up hit. Food prices at Walmart and Costco have risen an average of 17–22% in just 2 years. Logically, low-income families should be given some relief. But no, in Alabama, food isn't tax-exempt. State tax is 4%. With local taxes added, total can reach 10% or more. A $3.50 bottle of milk, you pay $3.85. A $100 grocery haul, add $10 in tax. For someone living on $800 a month, that $10 is 3 full meals. The story of a 68-year-old woman in Selma. I met Ms. Laverne at the exit of a small supermarket. She said, "I pay an extra $3 in tax every time I shop. Doesn't sound like much, but for me, that's 3 breakfasts." She lives on $780 a month in retirement. No car, doesn't shop online, no credit card, and as she said, "At my age, I can't bargain with anyone, except myself." Why does food tax still exist here? Some politicians say sales tax is fair, everyone pays the same. But the truth is, the rich buy dragon fruit, the poor buy rice, and both get taxed the same. That kind of fairness only exists on paper. In reality, it's a punishment for people who don't have the power to choose. Facts so absurd they leave people silent. Alabama is one of the poorest states in America. Over 16% of the population lives below the poverty line. Yet it has one of the highest grocery tax rates in the country, in counties like Wilcox and Lowndes, where the average household income is just $30,000 a year. People are paying $500, $600 more per year just to eat. In an ideal world, the poorer you are, the less tax you should pay. But here, the poorer you are, the more you pay because you're poor. When vegetables are treated like luxury goods, I once believed taxes were tools to balance wealth in society. But Alabama taught me. In some places, taxes don't balance anything. They just dig the gap deeper. And I ask, why is baby milk, grandma's greens, Or rice for a struggling family, taxed like a concert ticket or a premium beer. Have you ever paid money just for the privilege of being poor? Have you ever looked at your receipt and felt rage rise at the line that says tax? Have you ever put something back on the shelf because the tax took away your next meal? If so, speak up, because Alabama isn't just a name, it's a living example of how the system quietly keeps the poor, one invisible tax at a time. 9. South Dakota, where the elderly count every meal. South Dakota, a peaceful land of wide fields, cold winds sweeping in from the plains, and the rustle of leaves against the porch. Here, the elderly live quietly. No complaints, no demands, no noise. But in supermarkets across Sioux Falls, Rapid City, or remote counties like Tripp and Buffalo, something is choking them into silence. Prices rise every week. But retirement checks don't, when food prices go up 19%, but pensions rise just over 3%. According to the South Dakota Budget and Policy Project, essential food prices have risen over 19% from 2022 to 2024. Meanwhile, pensions and Social Security have increased only slightly, just over 3%. With every grocery trip, seniors here do the same math. Eggs or medication, milk or electricity, dinner tonight or breakfast tomorrow. The story of an elderly woman in Aberdeen I met June 78, living alone since her husband passed. Her retirement income is $850 a month. Her grocery bill last month, $312. I used to calculate my spending with ease. Now I calculate how many meals I'll have to skip, she said, clutching a bottle of milk she'd put back on the shelf. When Walmart is the only option, and the last stop, South Dakota has one of the lowest population densities in the country, many counties don't have a single major grocery store within 100 miles. No Costco, no Trader Joe's, no supermarket competition. Walmart becomes the only option. And because it's the only one, it's also the last place the elderly can go and leave with empty eyes. Not because they don't want to buy, but because they simply can't. The numbers that hurt. Nearly 20% of South Dakota's population is over age 65. Medical, food, and fuel costs have all outpaced pension adjustments. Feeding. South Dakota reports that the number of elderly seeking food aid has risen over 25% in just 2 years. In rural areas, seniors often have no cars, no internet, no children nearby. They live as if forgotten on the prairie, where every gust of wind brings another price increase. When old age no longer means rest, I used to believe old age was the reward for a lifetime of work, a time to stop counting, stop worrying. But South Dakota taught me something else. In a place without options, old age doesn't get to let go. You can't push back on the system. You only have one way to respond to rising prices. Skip meals. Have you ever seen an elderly person put an item back at checkout? Have you had to help your parents or grandparents count coins in a grocery store? Have you heard them give a half smile and say, "It's fine, maybe next time," even though you know there won't be a next time? If you have, please share. Because South Dakota isn't just a state, it's a reminder that when our elders have to ration their meals, we've failed to honor them. 10. Maine, where the simpler you try to live, the more you pay. Maine, the land of fog, coastal towns, pine forests, and a slower way of life. For millions of Americans, this is the dream place to retire, to escape the noise, to live peacefully after years of hustle. But in Maine today, the slower you live, the faster the numbers hit. The simpler your lifestyle, the tighter the squeeze. From toilet paper to eggs, nearly everything has doubled. According to the Maine Center for Economic Policy, essential goods have jumped between 18% and 28% in just 2 years. A roll of toilet paper that used to be $4 now costs nearly $8. A carton of eggs that used to be $1.80 is now over $3.50. If you're lucky to even find them, what used to be habit buys are now painful decisions. One mother told me, toilet paper, milk, dish soap. I have to pick 2 out of 3 every week. The rest, we just go without, a coastal state. But the highest delivery costs in the U.S. Maine has seaports. But its terrain is long, hilly, forested, and sparsely populated. That makes shipping costs in Maine among the highest in the nation. And who pays the price? Not the retailers, but the people, especially those in remote regions. When Walmart is the only choice, and the only trap in small towns like Millinocket, Rumford, or Houlton. Walmart is the last grocery store standing, no Costco. No local chains big enough to compete. When Walmart raises prices even by 5%, the whole community tightens its belt. No options. No bargaining power, no way out. Except to buy less, eat less, dream less. The story of an elderly couple in Bangor. They moved to Maine to slow down and enjoy retirement. We came here for peace, and the peace is still here. But the fridge, it's not as full as it used to be. Their retirement income is about $24,000 a year. Basic living and food costs eat up nearly 80% of it. When peace becomes a privilege, I used to think simple living was the path to savings. But Maine showed me a different truth. Living simply in a place with no competition is quiet desperation dressed up as peace. You're not choosing a slower life. You're being slowed down because you have no other choice. The poverty in Maine isn't loud. It's quiet, polite, and very American. And because of that, it's even more terrifying. Have you ever paid the price for choosing peace? Have you left the city for the countryside, only to find your tranquility came with a doubled bill? Have you thought that living with less meant spending less, only to realize you're spending more because you have no alternatives? If so, please share, because Maine isn't just a quiet place. It's proof that no place is quiet. When prices keep rising in silence. A recap of 10 states, 10 reflections of a misaligned economy we've just traveled through. West Virginia, where people choose between bread and medicine. Mississippi, where people shop out of habit, not affordability. New Mexico, where price traps are buried in the desert. Arkansas, where even Walmart's hometown gets no favors. Kentucky, where instant noodles return at age 72. Montana, where saving money costs more. Louisiana, where the price storm outlasts the real storm. Alabama, where vegetables get taxed like luxury items. South Dakota, where seniors count every meal. Maine, where simplicity becomes a financial trap. I don't blame Walmart. I don't blame Costco. I blame a system where the vulnerable always pay more. We live in strange times. The less money you have, the more you're forced to spend. And when the poor stay silent, the system keeps cutting away at their last few dollars. Which state do you live in? Are you choosing between medicine and dinner? Leave a comment, because the smallest stories often carry the loudest truths.